Hey there gamers, DreamcastGuy here. Today we're talking about two big stories about PlayStation, which is one is a new leak about the PlayStation 6, and the other is that Sony has officially made a statement about the next PS5 price increase, and they're apparently promising, yes, they're going to raise the price again, which sucks, but they're doing their best not to do it until 2027. But I want to talk first and foremost about the PlayStation 6 leak, because there have been multiple reports that next gen for Sony is not just another standard system. The PlayStation 6 isn't just going to be, you know, a PS5 Pro. It's not just more graphics, more resolution, crazier 4K. Instead, it sounds like the idea is to have two separate versions of the PlayStation 6. A home console, very much like what we expect, but also a portable version, a PlayStation 6 that will play PS5 games natively on the go, not streamed. It will install, it'll play, it'll straight up be a portable PS5 that'll also be able to play some version of PlayStation 6 games when you dock it. Now, I want to talk about this because the leaker Kepler has just posted stuff about the power of the PlayStation 6. And as good as it sounds like the graphics are going to be crazy. It sounds like it's going to be very, very expensive. Let's discuss. Hi, hope you're having a great day. If you could please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, I have to admit that I very much love talking about next-gen tech just because it's the potential almost. It's so exciting to me to kind of talk about that next generation because it's sort of fun to sort of imagine where things could be going from here, especially because I really do feel like we're really bumping into photorealism. The PS5 already looks so good. I think part of the reason I still can't imagine the PS6 coming out until at least 2030 is that how much better can games look? How much more crowd density? How much more craziness can we have? It really feels like we're bumping against photorealism, especially because I feel like the real thing we're bumping up against isn't really necessarily like a programming barrier. It's a tech barrier. Because of the AI bubble, right now, just globally, all tech stuff is expensive and getting more expensive. So I have seen some people talking about the fact that maybe they're not going to really push graphics beyond this limit until this stops. I mean, there's no way you'd make something for a device that 1% of the gamer base is even going to have. Even Nvidia is now saying they're pausing their GPU releases in 2026, which is pretty funny because Nvidia is causing the GPU shortages and stuff. It's everybody being like, wow, look at that. Shortage because of whom? Shortage because of whom? They're pretty much the number one people funding the AI bubble, and they're very much betting on the AI bubble getting even bigger before it pops. So here's the leak that a lot of people are discussing, right? The PlayStation 6 is going to have 30 gigs of RAM using these 3 gig chips. Now, this was revealed by the reliable leaker KeplerL2. Kepler has done a lot of funny statements. He's talked a lot about the price of next gen. Kepler has said that essentially it sounds like Xbox and PlayStation are very much swinging for the fences. It sounds like Xbox is trying to rush it. There's been multiple reports now we've talked about on the channel that it sounds like the next Xbox is going to try and come out a full year ahead of the PlayStation 6. I still don't believe the next Xbox is even coming out, but there is talks that maybe the next gen Xbox could be as much as $1,200, and people make memes because obviously Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox, even said that $1,000 consoles don't sell, and it sounds like the PlayStation 6 could end up being over $1,000 easily. From the leaks and stuff, I do actually think the next Xbox is probably going to be about $1,200, and I think even best case scenario, if it's subsidized, the PlayStation 6 is very likely going to cost $1,200, maybe. We're talking $1,100, $1,000 at the cheapest. People aren't going to be able to buy that. Like, the PlayStation 5 launched at $500. The PlayStation 5 has been a crazy, overwhelming success, right? They've said that now it's already reached 92 million in sales, right? Clearly the PS5 had crazy, crazy success, and it really hit the ground running. Dropping at $500, it sold really fast. There were crazy PS5 shortages for that first whole year because everybody in the world wanted a PS5. I just feel like even the raw numbers, the raw messaging of, hey, next gen is going to cost you double the price of last gen, I feel like normies especially, which is a huge chunk of the entire gaming market, they're not going to go for that. But I want to take a look at the reactions to it. So PC hardware leaker KeplerL2 has talked more about the memory inside the PlayStation 6. It's going to be a 30 gigabyte clamshell, so 5 3 gigabyte chips, alongside the speed also being a 32 gig thing here. So this is a beefy piece of tech. A lot of people in the comments are like, okay, the PlayStation 6 handheld, he also said is 24 gigabytes of RAM. This is crazy. Just to clarify, Kepler was giving his own take on what he thinks would be a good amount, not what it will actually be. Kepler is one of those people where he definitely knows stuff he's not supposed to know. Kepler has done a lot of good leaks about internal development stuff. I took this more of him saying what he thinks is in it and not what he thinks should be in it. But a lot of people are like, okay, good luck for anybody trying to play new games on a PC with 8 gigs or 12 gigs of VRAM in a few years. Nvidia and AMD has screwed us all by limiting this RAM. A lot of people are like, okay, this will probably be a very, very silly and very dumb question from a casual person who uses 16 gigs of RAM, and I totally appreciate an explanation, and I really don't have a clue. Do consoles need that much RAM for one game at a time? PCs have a lot of RAM because they're doing a lot of stuff. Like right now, just an example, I actually run a separate piece of software to record the audio. I'm also, of course, recording video. I'm also, of course, recording the screen. And in the background, I've got stuff like, you can see I'm like getting ready to play World of Warcraft because I'm addicted to it, right? But they're doing all that stuff at once with your 32 gigs of RAM. Whereas when you put up your PlayStation, you press this button, the PS5 turns on. It's just that. There are basically no background operations. People are basically like, okay, the thing is that this is mostly to try and really optimize the new extra high resolutions that these game makers are focused with, right? Especially with ray tracing. The thing is with consoles, they don't have DRAM. The full 30 gigs of the console is shared memory that shares its memory with the GPU, so it's much more needed for both the system and the games. The big factor is the 30 gigs has to be shared between the CPU, the GPU, and the operating system, where a PC has separate RAM for the CPU, the VRAM, and the GPU, unless you're using an iGPU, of course. But the RAM ultimately depends on how the game is built in the first place. And here's the comment that really kind of struck me. Yes, because we want 10-year development cycles in order to see the sweat pores on our playable characters. I think this sums up the problem with next gen more than anything else, right? How much better do games gotta look? You know, in the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 era, the new graphics were almost just part of the puzzle. The games looked better, of course, but it was also, hey, we have new levels of AI, new levels of adaptability, new levels of abilities for these destructibility, you know, right? The first time you play Uncharted 2, and, you know, there's that scene where you're running through this giant village that's getting blown up by a tank. Individual bricks and stuff are flying around. It felt realistic, particle effects and stuff wise, in a game that PS2 games just were not able to do. And I almost think that with PlayStation 6, I just really don't think that PlayStation 6 being more graphically intensive, this amount of juice under the hood with the price tag that's attached, I'm not really sure that's gonna pay off as a good thing, right? I just feel like we're getting to a point where graphics are getting so good, a trailer no longer sells the point. A compressed video that people are watching on their iPhone in the middle of a lunch break, really, how much can they actually care about that compared to what they're already having with the incredibly successful PlayStation 5? It's hard to say, hey, sell your PS5 and do everything in the world to pay 3 times the price to essentially get, 12% better graphics at best. It's probably going to be 5% better visuals, right? The other part of this that I did want to talk about is that there's been a lot of fear about the PlayStation 5 getting another price increase. Now, when it comes to price increases, obviously, Xbox takes the cake. Xbox has done so many price increases of not just their games and Game Pass, but also their hardware. The controller prices went up. The consoles now cost $800. And Sony has done tiny price increases here and there. And I think a lot of us are afraid to get another one. The PS5 is already an expensive piece of tech. I think even baseline, if you're trying to get a freaking PS5 with a disk drive, you're paying like $600 with shipping, right? That's not a small price tag. If they bump that up to being even close to the Xbox, I think it's going to substantially crater it. We have talked on the channel. There have been multiple reports that the PS5 is selling slower, but so is the Nintendo Switch 2, so is the Xbox. At this point, it does seem like each price increase really drastically cuts the potential of new players. It does seem like every time there's a price increase, that sort of breaks through to the normies and says, hey, maybe now is not a good time to jump in. Maybe instead of buying a PS5, start saving up now, buy no games until 2020, 2030, buy a PlayStation 6. I don't know. I'm a little bit afraid of that next price increase really kind of dooming the PlayStation 5. But these have just been some off-the-cuff thoughts. How do you feel about the next generation of PlayStation? Do you want a PlayStation 6 handheld? To me, that's still maybe the device that I'm most curious about. I just really like the idea of being able to game portably, even if I don't do it that much. I still think it's cool to have, like, you know, a tablet that plays crazy HD games. I mean, that's part of the reason I'm just absolutely obsessed with my Steam Deck. But thank you so much for watching this video. If you could please give this video a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and please keep dreaming.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, you know, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.